Alex is going to introduce himself because he can do a much better job at it than I can. So, Alex.
Hi, everybody. Hi. Hello. I will see you all in 150 slides. So, can you see everything okay? Good. My name is Alex, and some people let me do a talk here at PyCon, and so here I am. I used to do security incident response at Atlassian, but lately I've been doing red teaming, which is like sponsored crimes, and it's been really fun. And today I'm going to talk to you about some things. I've also agreed to like help organize this conference called PurpleCon, and I've agreed to help organize it because I'm young and invincible. Not recently, a few years ago now, I wrote about some like crimes that I did, and some journalists wrote about that blog post, and they said, oh, according to a blog post by a hacker who goes by the name Alex, and they put it in quotes. And so Alex is my real name also, and so this is my hacker name now. You can call me that. I can't stop you. I'm about to talk about hacking my friend, like a real friend, like an actual friend of mine, who's like a real person and not made up. And so, like, in case any of you are having the genius idea that you should hack your friends, don't do that. It's not good. It's not a good thing to do. The only reason it's okay that I did it is because I explicitly asked them, like, is it okay if I try and hack you? Do you understand what it means? Like, are you sure you want to take the risks, and so on and so on? And this person said yes. Anyway, so this is my friend, Diana. Diana's not her real name, that's not her real picture. This whole thing is like a lie, but it's not a lie that she really did say it's okay for me to try and hack her, and I explain what all that is. And so some things about her that you're going to need to know is that she's a comedian, that's her job, and she's sweet and young, and her tech literacy is normal. She, like all of you people here at PyCon, probably know more about tech and computers than she does. She knows the normal amount for someone her age. And so for some reason she said yes, by the way. She was like the first person I asked, and I was like, hey, is it okay if I try and hack all your stuff? And she was like, yeah, and it was much easier than I thought it would be. And so I made some rules about like, okay, well, there's not just going to be no rules. Maybe, so what constraints are we going to have? And so I have 12 months to do it. I can do it any time in that 12 months. I'm not allowed to delete anything, so I'm not allowed to add stuff and look at stuff. But I was like, what if I deleted your emails? And she was like, oh, that would be bad. Okay, you can't do that. Also, I'm not allowed to disrupt her daily life. So this means like, if I were to lock her out of her email account by like changing the password, then that would be bad because she needs her email account to like do things. Or if I was to like, I don't know, spam post stuff on her Facebook wall, then like that would be bad because she'd be like distracted by that. I need to like not like interrupt her or inconvenience her because she's my real friend. Also, I've decided that I'm just going to do this whole thing without getting caught because that's what not getting disrupted sounds like anyway. And also, I'm not allowed to exploit the fact that I know her in real life. So I know her like email address and phone number and where she lives and all this stuff. I'm going to not use that information. I'm going to do it as if I was a real hacker. Okay, so that's right. This talk's called Operation Luigi. There's a picture of Luigi at the beginning. You might be wondering, why is this talk called Operation Luigi? In the interest of time, let's get straight to it. The first thing we have to do is find out what her email address is. Even though we already know it, we have to find it. And so I was like, okay, well, I'm using this advanced hacking software, and I'm going to just put her name into it and the word LinkedIn, and on LinkedIn just tells me here's what her email address is. Because LinkedIn encourages you, hey, put your email address on LinkedIn so people can find you. People like me, not really, mostly recruiters, but also people like me. I noticed it's a Hotmail email address, and I'm like, oh, maybe this is wrong, maybe this is old, because like, no one's using Hotmail still, are they? And so, so then I went to her Twitter. I wanted to know whether this was her real email or her main email address. I went to her Twitter, and if you try and reset your password on Twitter, it will say, sure, you can reset your password. We're going to email a link to, and then it will give you most of the email address. It will give you a few letters and the domain. And I was like, cool, this means the Hotmail one is her current email address. Weird that she's still using a Hotmail address, but okay. Also, this screenshot is old. This doesn't happen anymore. Twitter doesn't let you do this anymore. If you go and reset your password on Twitter right now, it'll be like, sure, you can reset your password. Type in the email address that you use to log into this Twitter account. Tell us the email address, and then we'll give you a link, presumably to prevent this. So good stuff, Twitter. Okay, so now I have to get a phone number, I think. By the way, this is my first time like hacking someone, anything, and so I'm like, I don't really know what I'm doing, but I've seen other people do it at conferences, so I'm like, I think I just need to collect everything that can be collected about this person first, and then somehow hacking will happen. And so I'm like, okay, I've got an email address, and I'll put the word phone into my advanced hacking software. I've actually obscured the name of the hacking software, so you can't tell which one it is, because it's so powerful. And So I do this, and there's like a page, and it just says like, hey, do you want to sign up to this club? Because she's like the head of some sort of club. And it says, contact Diana at this email address, this phone number. Because like, she just put it on there online because she wanted to be found. And so like, this is not, I'm not saying she's dumb or bad for doing this. This is totally normal, right? You have to have some sort of privacy trade-off if you're going to like advertise yourself, which is what you need to do if you're organizing a club or anything. So like, what can you do about that, right? If you want to organize a club, you got to put some sort of contact information on the internet. It works for me. And so now I'm like, okay, what do I do? I have the email address and phone number. What do I do now? Maybe I went to a lot of conferences and they say you have to email someone a Word document with macros in it, and then they click the macros and then you have control of the computer. And I was like, okay, well, I don't really know how to do that. Also, does she even have a laptop? Maybe she just has a phone. Also, like, if I got control of the computer, then what would I do? I would probably just try and get her browser cookies and log into her cloud stuff anyway. So maybe I don't actually want control of the computer. Maybe I want her, like, email and passwords and stuff. And so, okay, I'm not going to do this. This is too hard. Maybe I'll try and hack into her email first, and then I can decide what to do. Because her email is kind of like, you know, the keys to the kingdom, sort of the top of everything. If you can get into someone's email, then you can use their email to reset their Twitter and reset their other stuff and get into all their other accounts. So I'm going to try and go for that. This is what I justified this to myself. It was late at night, whatever. Okay, so now I have to get her email password. Note that I can't get into her email any other way. I have to actually know her email password and type it in and log in at the same time as her. Because if I got into her email any other way, by like pretending to be her and resetting it, she would get kicked out of it. So she has to also still be in her email and also not know that I'm also in her email. So the only way I can do this is by just getting the password, which is what I'm trying to do. There's this great website for getting passwords called Have I Been Pwned? A lot of controversy on how to pronounce that. And it lets you put in an email address, and it will tell you which of the like public data breaches, they're called, that email address appears in. So you can put in your email, and it will tell you, yeah, like LinkedIn got hacked in 2012, and your email was in there, so some hacker has your LinkedIn password, and it will tell you that for all the different sites that have been hacked, all the different ones that this website knows about. Nowhere does it say that you need to put in your email address. So very cleverly, I put in her email address, and I find that at the time of writing, she was in a few. The only interesting ones were Patreon and Tumbler. Patreon didn't have passwords. Tumbler was the only one that had passwords in the like data breach thing. And so I was like, okay, cool. I know my friend's like password is on the internet now. I know it's in this Tumbler breach thing. This is great. So now the Tumbler password dump is something that I just happen to have lying around, and so it looks like this. It's a big text file, and it's just got the email address and then a colon and the password hash. And hackers are not very good at documenting their stuff, and so they don't really say what kind of password hashes they are. It's just a text file. I looked around on the internet, and people seem to think that they're SHA-1 hashes with a static salt, and I'm like, cool, what does that mean? And so let me explain what a static salt is. So imagine you're, a website, let's call them Tumbler, and you're storing like emails and passwords. This is one way you could do it. You could store the email address of the person, and you could also just store their password, because then when they log in, you know whether they typed in the right password, because you have their password. But then you go to a security conference, and they tell you you're not allowed to do that. So okay, actually you need to hash the passwords. So this way, you don't store the password, you store this like scrambled up version of it, and then you don't have to keep a copy of the user's password, but you can still check whether they typed the right password in. So okay, now I'm storing the password hashes, and you're like, am I doing it now? And people at security conferences are like, no, this is not good enough. You need to do this salting thing now. And so now you need to, before you hash the password, you need to add a random string to the end of it, just in case somebody has a big list of the hash of every possible like 8-character string. Then they could possibly use that to like reverse what your hash was back into the password. So you have to add this salt thing to the end. And so you go, okay. And so now you're adding this salt, and you add it to all the end of the passwords like this. This is called a static salt, and static means it's the same for all the passwords. And so now you're adding the same thing to the end of every single password. And the point of this is to prevent somebody with a big list of the hash of every single string from using that big list to reverse your password hashes. But you see the problem here. The problem is that these two users have the same password, and because we're adding the same thing to the end of the password, the same static salt, the thing that's getting hashed is the same for both of these people. In fact, they're going to have the same password if and only if they have the same password hash. And so even when we hash everything, you can see these two users have the same password hash. You don't know what it is, you don't know what the password is, but you know these two people had the same password because of the static salt thing. So why am I telling you all about this static salt thing? It's because I don't know what the salt is for the Tumbler password dump. Even though the salt's not meant to be a secret thing, it's meant to be like public, it's meant to be as public as like the usernames. but I don't know what it is because it's not included in the text file because hackers are not good at documenting their stuff. So I'm like, okay, I really want to get my friend's password out of this, but I don't know how. So the first thing I did when I had the list was I searched for my friend's email address, and I'm like, okay, if I grep for her email address, I'll get all the lines that have her email address in it, which is just the one with her password hash in it. I'm like, cool, but I don't know what this password hash goes to. I don't know what password this password hash is of. So here's the sneaky thing I do. I search for her password hash in the file, not her password, just her password hash, like an absolute madman. Because, well, what do you think will happen? What do you think will happen when I type in her, like, when I grep for her password hash? It should just be one, like it should just be her line, right? It should just have my friend Anna's thing. There's like 20 people who have the same who have the same password hash, right? And these people, it's like a little password book club, right? They can all get along, and these fun little book enthusiasts all have the same password on Tumbler. And so this tells me a few things. Probably it's not a very good password since all these people have thought of the same one. But again, I'm very smug, but I don't know what it is, so I need to find out what it is. And so here's what I do. I get just the email addresses of those people in the password book club. I throw away the password hashes, don't know what to do with the hash, just get those email addresses. These are all the people who have the same password as Diana. And then conveniently, do you know that LinkedIn was also hacked in 2012? And Diana was not in this list because she didn't have LinkedIn in 2012, but lots of people were. And thanks to the hard work and GPU cycles of the people in the password cracking community, almost all of those LinkedIn passwords are in plain text now. They're not just hashes, they're emails and just passwords that you can just look at with your eyes. And I was like, wow. I also just happened to have that lying around. And so then I did this thing where I looked up the same people who are in the password book club in the Tumbler list, in the LinkedIn list, and I found most of them, not all of them, about 80% of them, had the same password as each other on LinkedIn as well. So isn't that really sweet that their book club transcends like services? And I thought it was sweet. And I found that most of them had the password Query1. And so this is a bit of a jump here. But I'm guessing that my friend Diana has the same password as all these people on Tumblr. Okay, I'm not guessing, that's definitely true. And then I'm guessing that they all have the same password on LinkedIn. And then I'm guessing that password is this most frequent one, this Query1 thing. I'm guessing that that's Diana's password. And I'm like, okay, I've done it. Let's go. Query1's Diana's password. I did it. I'm hacking. Let's go. It's time to use this thing. I got Hotmail, type it in, and it's not the right password. Like, that's not a Hotmail password. It wasn't it? And I was like, well, damn. Why did I do all this work? Why did I go to all these great lengths? Okay, whatever. So then I go to Facebook, and so I don't just try it on her Hotmail. I try it on everything. I go to Facebook and it says, oh no, that's not your Facebook password, but it's an old password. It was your password about 5 months ago. And I'm like, oh, thanks Facebook for taunting me. I guess I'm too late. But I mean, like, okay, so this did used to be her password. She just happens to have changed it recently. And I've somehow stumbled upon a person who has more than one password in their life. So I'm like, okay, fine, I guess we have to do this the hard way, which is what I didn't want to have to do. So, by the way, this is what I had planned. This is what I thought this like hacking would be like. I was going to be like, haha, it's so easy to hack someone. You just look them up in all these lists that you have lying around, and it's as easy as that. And so the rest of this talk will be about how it's not as easy as that, always. And so I'm like, okay, I guess I'm going to try and do this phishing thing. I'm going to try and trick her into sending me the password because everyone else is doing it. It's more work. It's more work because you have to make something custom, but like, oh well. I don't know, is this how you do phishing? I don't know, it's my first time. Maybe I should do something like this. I don't know. You don't know that it won't work. So no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do this. Here's the plan I come up with. I'm going to send her a fake email from Microsoft because she has Hotmail, so it has to be Microsoft. And that email is going to take her to a login screen for Hotmail, but it's a fake login screen that actually sends me her password. And then she'll go to the real Hotmail login screen and just kind of keep going as if nothing happened. This is my plan. I don't know. Whatever. And so, but to do this, I'm going to need to make a Hotmail account to send the email from. So I go to make a Hotmail account, which will let me open a world of benefits. And I try to make one that looks like Microsoft. I try to make a Microsoft account team, and it says, no, you can't do that, presumably because the word Microsoft is in the email address, and they know I'm not Microsoft. And so I try to make my first name Microsoft and my last name account team, and they're like, no, you can't do that. And presumably to stop exactly what I'm trying to do, and fair enough. However, these are my round friends, and these look like two O's, don't they? It looks like I put two O's in this slide, like an absolute fool. But actually, one of them is an O, and one of them is a Greek letter Omicron, which looks a lot like an O to you and me, doesn't it? But to a computer, they're completely different, like Unicode code points. And so, like, if you were to spell Microsoft like this, with these Omicrons, then, like, that doesn't say Microsoft, but like to you and me, it looks like it does. And so like, does this really work? I'm sure you're wondering. Like, surely the billions of dollars at Microsoft and the most advanced minds aren't going to be fooled by it. No, it does work. Yeah, it does. And so I make this Microsoft account team thing, and I send her this email which says like, I copied this from like a real Microsoft email that I got. I copied all the like styling and most of the text, and it says, oh, you better log into your account in the next 48 hours or we're going to lock it. Oh, please do it or it's going to be real bad. Oh boy, there's like Russians, IP addresses, you wouldn't want that. I don't know. And so it says like, come and log in, please. But again, this is just an email, like that link, that don't lock his account thing at the bottom, that has to be a link to something. And so I need to make that. I need to make a website for that bottom button to link to. So like, okay, let's go. This is the real Hotmail login screen, or it was at the time. And so I need to make a copy of this. And so there's an easy way to make a copy of things. There's this hacking technique I learned about where step one, have you seen this before? Where step one is you right click on something. Step two is you hit this button. And when you hit that inspect element button, that's the good stuff. I think there are easier ways to copy websites, but I always do it this way. Anyway, so here's my copy of the website. It looks the same, because it is the same. But this time it's on my computer. It's on localhost. And so now I need to put it on the internet somehow. And so I'm like, how do I put this? I can't link it to localhost. How do I put this online? And I found this like static hosting company website thing. They're not paying me to say this, but they let you like host static files on the internet. And this is really good because you get a custom subdomain, so you can be anything.aerobatic.io, and they give you HTTPS for free, and it's like 2 commands or something to do it, and no one knows about it, so all the good subdomains aren't taken. So like, I'm sure it's a good static hosting site, but it happens to also be a really good phishing hosting site. So thank you to these people. You can use the promo code Diana to be immediately reported to the authorities. This is the one I made. This is the domain I chose. The real Hotmail login screen is the real Hotmail login domain is login.live.com. And so I could have like made my own domain name and like made it look even more similar, but I just don't think Diana's going to look at the URL very much because she's not like a paranoid security person like us. So, but then again, for some reason, login when you go to like a login screen, the URL doesn't look like that. It looks like this. It has a bunch of like stuff at the end, and so I just added a bunch of stuff at the end. So like it doesn't do anything. I actually stole it from the Google login screen, but. Whatever, okay, it's my first time. And so here it is. This is my fake login screen on the internet now. I know it's the same picture, but this time it's on the internet, trust me. And so I also add these bonus features to it. The first one is that after she clicks the login button, the submit button, it's going to add an image to the page, and the image goes to a website I control, /Diana, and then question mark, and then plus whatever her password is. So the reason I'm doing this is to try and steal her password. This is like a terrible, awful way to do it that you probably shouldn't do, but it's really easy. So like, I'm going to get a request to my website, /Diana, and then plus some password. And I don't know what this password is, so it's going to be a 404. But then in my logs, it's going to be a request for a 404 to Diana and then the password. So I'm just going to be looking at my logs for this Diana thing, and when it shows up, I'll be like, ah, that's the password. And then I make it so that after she clicks the button, it waits 1 second, and then goes to the real Hotmail login screen. The 1 second wait is to simulate Australian internet speeds. Anyway, here's the email I send. It's like, look out, something real bad's going to happen, and you've only got 48 hours because I'm creating time pressure and I'm doing all the good stuff I've seen random phishing emails do, but I kind of just want this to work, so come on, click the link. And so I send it to her, and I say she had 48 hours. And so 24 hours later, nothing happened. I'm looking at my logs, and she's not there. So I'm like, she hasn't clicked on it yet. And so I'm like, oh, okay. So I send the email again saying, like, same thing, but now you only have 48 hours. Now you only have 24 hours. You better click it. And then 48 hours later, she also doesn't click on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. All right. At this point, I'm not actually hacking anyone. I'm just emailing my friend. I'm like, oh, okay, that's a shame. I guess it wasn't an interesting enough email. And fair enough. The thing I learned from this is that people don't really care about emails from Microsoft or about like emails from like automated emails. They care about emails from people, which leads me to the next way I try and do this, which is like, okay, she's going to be like on the internet, whatever, and she's going to get an email from a recruiter, and the recruiter's going to link her to the same fake login page, and then she's going to go to a Google Doc, and the login page is going to make her log in to see a Google Doc. Is there such? But this is Microsoft. This is Hotmail. Hotmail doesn't have Google Docs. Is there such thing as Microsoft Google Docs? And so I look it up. Is that a thing? Is that a real thing? And there is, and it's called Cloud Sky something 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 something, and so I'm like, great. And so I log into this and I think I make the document in something else and then copy and paste it into this. And so now I have a Microsoft Google Doc. And you might be wondering what document I made. I made a resume, like a fake but convincing looking resume. And then I send her, before I do that, I have to make the person who's going to send it to her. I can't email her from me, can't email her from Microsoft account team, so I guess it's going to have to be from this fake person. And so I go to the Google login screen. You can put whatever you want in these boxes. It's very good. And so I make this person called Kathleen Wheeler, who's like a mix of a first name and last name from a real company that I found. And then I send her this, which says, this is me writing this, so I'm trying to sound like I'm a recruiter. I don't really know what recruiters sound like. And I'm saying, hey, I work at this comedy company, which you care about, which I looked up earlier on LinkedIn. And somebody has listed you as a reference. Somebody has told us that you work together. Like somebody has said that they worked with you. Here's the resume, tell us how you know them, blah, blah, blah. Click here for the resume. That link is obviously the one that goes to the fake login screen. And then after that, there's all this text being like, can you fill out this form and tell us these things and blah, blah, blah. That's just to distract from the link. And then it says also, can you let me a good time to call you? Is the phone number her phone number, which I found earlier? Okay. The reason I put her phone number there is so she knows this is like for her. It's not like an accident. Like this person clearly knows who she is. And then I made a sweet email signature at the bottom with like a different font and everything. I thought it was really good attention to detail, whatever. And so I send this to her, and it totally works. Like, she clicks it, she types in a password, the whole thing just works flawlessly. And I was like, wow, that was really easy. And then I look a little bit closer, and I'm like, wait a minute. This password that she sent me, that's QWERTY1. I already have that one. So, like, And I was like, what? How could that, did I do something wrong? And then I was like, no, wait a minute, here's what I've learned. She does not know what a Hotmail password is. Which in many ways is the ultimate defense against people like, so like, don't shame her for this. But also because my fake login screen will just say yes no matter what password you type in. Now she thinks this is a Hotmail login password. Yep. And I'm like, whoops, I hope I can fix that after this is all over. Anyway, so instead of giving up, I update my login screen. So now, no matter what you type in, it just says wrong password the first 3 times. Because my theory is that people who like memorize all their passwords, they just try one. And if it doesn't work, they just try the other one and the other one. They just unload all their passwords into the form. And so I also changed it so if you try QWERTY1, the counter doesn't go up. So you can't just try QWERTY1 3 times. And so then I send her, then she replies, and she's like, no, I haven't worked with this person, which is true because they don't exist. And then she's like, yeah, you can call me. That's the right phone number. And I'm not going to call her because I'm not Kathleen. And then then I reply being like, oops, that was the wrong resume. Oh, for some reason, you better click on this. This makes no sense, right? like if you think about this, if you stop and think about this, there's another person who also worked with you around the same time, but with different dates and I sent you their resume instead of the other. That just doesn't make any sense, right? Like this story doesn't work. But it has the same bait of somebody says they know you and you have to click to find out who. And so I'm like, please just click on it anyway, please, Diana. And she does, and this time, same thing happens. She clicks on it, and she types in a thing. She types the same thing 3 times, which is this other password, which looks a lot like QWERTY1. Also, none of these passwords are real, but they're similar to what they actually were. So this one's shifted along by 1 on the keyboard. I'm like, okay, what's this password? And so I go to Hotmail and using the advanced hacking software Google Chrome, type the password into the Hotmail login screen and press enter, and it totally works. I get into email, and I'm like, it's as easy as that, everybody. See, it's simple. Okay, so I did. I got an email password, but now what do I do? I tried the same password on everything, and it doesn't work. I'm like, great, this person has 3 passwords in their lives. And then she replies being like, no, I haven't worked with this person either. Why are you doing this? What's happening? And I replied just being like, don't worry about it. Don't stress about it. I'll just handle it. Please don't email me anymore. Please just forget about this. And she does. She doesn't reply. So I'm like, great. Meanwhile, I log into email and I click on I want to search for more passwords so I can log into more stuff. And so I click on the search bar thing and it shows me her last 5 searches. And I'm like, ooh, but the last 5 searches aren't anything interesting. But I want to search for password and other things. But if I do it, then she'll see it's in her search history, right? So I write down the last 5 things she searched for and then search for all my stuff and then search for those things in reverse. So it looks exactly the same. Because it only shows the last 5. Microsoft knows what I've done, but I'm doing it anyway. And it totally works, but I didn't find any passwords because, I don't know. I found a lot of passwords I already had, but I didn't find any new passwords. And I was like, fine, whatever. So this is the end of the talk, I guess. That's it. I'm in her email. Never believe it when it says the end question mark. No, it's obviously not the end. Jeez. This talk is called Operation Luigi, and I'm like already in my friend's email, you know, and it'd be a real shame to just kind of leave it at that, you know? It'd be a real shame to not like do anything with that. So here's what Operation Luigi is. Here's what we need to do. First thing is to get into her Twitter. Second thing is to not lock her out of her Twitter, because she needs to be in there too. And also don't let her know that I'm in her stuff. Don't let her know that I'm in her Twitter. So here's how I do it. I go to Twitter and I'd be like, hey, I forgot my password, and Twitter lets me reset it. And like, you know, because I'm in her email now, and so I can reset the password because it'll send me the email and I can click it and I can do that now. And so I change her Twitter password to QWERTY1. And so that's because this is the password that I think she thinks her password is. And I delete all the emails and blah, 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 wait for her to log in, and because I need her to log in so I know that she's actually typed QWERTY1 and she's back in her own account. And I wait a while, and then eventually she actually logs in, and I'm like, great, it works. She retweeted a picture of a dog, and I was like, yes. Okay, so then I did the exact same thing with LinkedIn as I did with Twitter, and I try to change the LinkedIn password to QWERTY1 as well, but it doesn't let me, presumably because I got the QWERTY1 from the LinkedIn password dump, so they know it's bad. But then there's a little box at the bottom which says require all devices to sign in with a new password, which is like, would you like to sign me out on, like, would you like to sign out all your other devices? And I'm like, absolutely not. Thank you, LinkedIn, for giving me this option. It's unchecked by default, so I can just change her password without even signing her out. And so I just do that, and then I log in. And so, okay, now what? Let me explain. So this picture of Obama is here because I can't show you Diana's real pictures. I have to show you, because I can't show you her real profile pictures, I'm going to show you what I did to her real profile pictures, but with pictures of Obama. I don't know, just go with it. And so here's what her Twitter picture was, and I changed it to be like this. I don't know if you can tell. But there's like a lightly transparent Luigi there. And so also she had a LinkedIn picture, and I changed the LinkedIn picture to have like another Luigi on it. Can you see it? And so I just left it there for like, I don't know, weeks. Okay, yeah, good weeks. I just left it there. And no one said anything. And I was like, okay, I thought she might have noticed then, but this is sort of like proof that I got somewhere. And so, you know, nothing happened. So I was like, okay, well, was this over? This was Operation Luigi. Of course, it's not over. The remainder of this talk will be about Operation Waluigi. And, you know, I came up with this like a long time ago, back when this meme was like, you know, new. Anyway, whatever, Waluigi, let's go. So I changed her LinkedIn bio to be the entire Wikipedia page for Waluigi. And when I do this, LinkedIn says her profile strength is advanced. So thank you, LinkedIn. Thank you, LinkedIn, for being there for me this entire talk. Anyway, I changed her Twitter to be this. Like, I want to make it super obvious, so I want her to know that I'm there. I want to be caught now. Like, I'm trying to be caught. I'm like, hello, notice me, I'm very loud. I tweet this from her account. I just go for it. And she's online at the same time, because it's like 7 p.m. And she replies, and she says, OMG, to this thing. And she says, I've been hacked, my dudes. But then because I'm also logged in at the same time, I reply as her, saying, oh, no, no, no. It just seemed like the right thing to do at the time. Anyway, then I tweet this, and I tweet this, and I keep doing things until she messages me, and I tweet longing for the days of this sweet lad, and I keep tweeting things, and eventually she messages me and be like, oh my gosh, my tweet is this you? And I'm like, yes, it's me, don't worry, nothing bad's happening, I'll stop now, it's all, congratulations, I guess you got me. And here's what happened after that. She loves her new Waluigi life so much, she goes and changes her Facebook to be all Waluigi themed, even though I didn't even touch it. She gets really into Waluigi culture. I'm not going to read this, but she really got into it. And she also asked me wow, how do I not get hacked? What did I do wrong? I'm like, well, you didn't do anything wrong, whoa. But this is kind of a question that people ask a lot, right? People ask security people, how do I stay safe? What should I be doing online? And these are just regular people who ask this, not security people, they're just normal people. They're not weird like us. And they say, oh, how do I stay safe? And sometimes the kind of answers they hear from security people are oh, you got to do all these things and live in a submarine and never go anywhere, and you got to get all this advanced multi-factor YubiKeys or whatever. And so there are other things you can say, you know. So here's what I told her. I was like, well, listen, it's up to you, right? There are things you can do to stay safe. There are things you can do that there are things you can do to stay safe, but they involve investing more time and effort. It's up to you how much you want to invest. It's up to you how much you care about this. Maybe you don't care and your phone is getting hacked. That's okay. That's a valid way to live your life. And so I help her set up two-factor auth on her email because I'm about to do this blog post and publish a guide on how to hack her. So I don't want it to be repeatable. And so I help her set up two-factor auth, so now she'll get a code on her phone, which would have been way harder for me to get past, because it's way harder to get past two-factor auth. You have to I don't know, fish the two-factor auth code or socially engineer the phone company, too hard. And so she was very happy that it wasn't that hard. She was very happy that she could just do this and it wasn't much extra effort for her, because this is the lowest effort, highest security value thing, I think, that she could have done. And so she has a little app like this, you know her two-factor, she gets this little app and she's like, yay, now I can just type in these codes. These backup codes are kind of a trap though, and I kind of warned about only using the app because see that button that's like, save to text file or keep these codes somewhere safe. No one clicks those buttons. Everyone's just like, yeah, whatever, close. Like no one keeps these backup codes. And so that's one of the reasons it's good to have SMS as a backup. Anyway, in conclusion, I just talked about Luigi for like a long time, so I hope you liked it. And the last thing is you might be wondering, like, where did I get these? Before I was like, oh, I just had these lying around. You might be wondering, where did I get the like LinkedIn and Tumblr like password hashes? Where did they actually come from? Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hello? Thank you, Alex, for that talk. We have a lovely cup for you.
Thank you.
Can Alyssa come up to the stage? Awesome. Thanks.